Tonight we begin with a journey into the most isolated, most secretive, and most brutally unforgiving kingdom on earth. We're not talking about ancient history or a forgotten empire. We're talking about right now, a place where time seems to have frozen, where the walls have ears, and where your thoughts are not your own. Tonight, we're diving into what life is really like inside North Korea. Forget the choreographed parades you've seen on the news. Forget the pristine avenues of Pyongyang shown to the few who visit. The truth is, you wouldn't last a single day. You wouldn't even last the morning. Because this isn't a game of survival against nature. It's a game of survival against a system designed to grind you into dust. And the only rule is that you can never, ever win. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Don't worry, unlike the place we're going, you get to leave. Your journey begins not with a bang, but with a shiver. A deep, bone-aching cold that seeps up from the concrete floor, through your thin mattress, and into your very soul. You open your eyes. It's 5 a.m. and the sun hasn't bothered to show up yet, but you are already awake. You have to be. The electricity, a fickle and unreliable guest, is scheduled to make a brief appearance, and you have exactly 1 hour to do everything that requires light or heat before it vanishes again until evening, if you're lucky. Your room is a small gray box in a sprawling, anonymous apartment block. The concrete walls are bare, stained with years of dampness, and the ghostly outlines of where previous tenants tried and failed to hang something hopeful. There is no decoration, save for one. Hanging on the most prominent wall, perfectly centered and spotlessly clean, are the mandatory portraits of the great leader Kim Il-sung and the dear leader Kim Jong-il. They are not art. They are your silent, ever-present roommates, and their placid, painted smiles are the first thing you see in the morning and the last thing you see at night. Their gaze follows you, a constant, chilling reminder of who you serve, who you fear, and who owns your every waking moment. The air smells of coal dust, stale kimchi, and the faint, ever-present scent of human desperation. You hear the sounds of your neighbors through the paper-thin walls, a baby crying with the weak, hollow sound of hunger, a man coughing a deep, rattling cough that speaks of a lifetime of bad cigarettes and untreated illness, the creak of floorboards from the family above you, who are also rushing to take advantage of the precious electricity. You lie there for a moment, wrapped in a coarse blanket that offers more scratch than warmth, and you feel the familiar gnawing in your stomach. It's not just hunger. It's a permanent state of being, a dull ache that has been your companion since you were a child. You push the thought away. Thinking about hunger is a luxury you can't afford. It's time to get up. The clock is ticking. The state waits for no one, and in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, your day is not your own. It belongs to them. And it's only just begun. The cold floor bites at your bare feet as you swing them out of bed. The first task of the day isn't making coffee or checking your phone. It's a desperate, frantic scramble to boil water. The single, bare light bulb, hanging from a frayed wire, flickers to life. casting long, dancing shadows across the room. You have a small electric hot plate, a prized possession you likely acquired through the black market after saving for months. You place a dented metal pot on it, filled with water you hauled up the stairs last night. This boiling water will be your everything today, your morning drink, your wash water, and maybe, if you can spare it, part of your soup for dinner. As it heats, you move to the corner of the room that serves as your bathroom. There is no running water. The toilet is a communal affair, a shared hole in the ground at the end of the hallway, used by a dozen other families. It is dark, it is foul, and it is a place you try to visit as quickly as humanly possible, holding your breath against the overwhelming stench of ammonia and human waste. Hygiene is a ritual of managed misery. You take a small portion of the now warm water and pour it into a tin basin. There is no soap. Soap is a luxury, something you might receive as a special state-given gift on the dear leader's birthday, to be treasured and used sparingly for months. Instead, you scrub your face and hands with a rough gray cloth, the water turning murky almost instantly. You feel less clean and more just damp. You glance at your reflection in a small, cracked piece of mirror. Your face is thin. Your skin has a pale, almost translucent quality from years of malnutrition, and your eyes carry a weariness that has nothing to do with lack of sleep. It's the exhaustion of the soul. You must be careful with the portraits. This is the next and most critical part of your mourning. You have a special cloth reserved only for this purpose. It is kept in a clean, high place, never to be used for anything else. To use it to wipe a table or your face would be an act of treason. You approach the portraits of the Kims with a reverence born of pure, undiluted fear. You gently, meticulously wipe the glass, removing any speck of dust. A dusty portrait could be interpreted as a sign of ideological impurity, of disrespect. Your Inminban, the neighborhood watch leader, makes unannounced inspections. A dusty portrait could lead to a report, a self-criticism session, or worse. Your hands are steady, your movements practiced. This is not a chore. It is a performance of loyalty, and your audience is everywhere and nowhere at once. The water is boiling now. The light bulb flickers again. A warning. Time is almost up. You pour the precious hot water into a thermos to save for later. The rest goes into a bowl. Breakfast is served, and you're about to discover the true meaning of disappointment. Forget everything you know about breakfast. In your world, it is not a meal, it is a calculation. A careful rationing of calories designed to give you just enough fuel to perform your duties for the state, but never enough to make you feel truly full. Satiety is a forgotten luxury, a ghost from a story your grandparents might have told you about a time before the arduous march, the great famine of the 1990s that starved millions and left a permanent scar on the nation's soul. You sit on the cold floor, your back against the wall, and stare into your bowl. It contains a gray, watery porridge, most likely made from corn or maize. It is bland, gritty, and lukewarm. The corn was provided by the public distribution system, the state's rationing program, but the allotment is never enough to last the month. What you're eating now was likely purchased on the black market, the Jiangmadang, traded for a few cigarettes you managed to acquire or some manual labor you did on the side. This porridge is the taste of your survival. Beside the bowl is a small, chipped dish containing the national dish, the one thing that provides a shock of flavor in an otherwise monotonous diet, kimchi. But this isn't the vibrant, complex kimchi you might imagine. It's made from coarse cabbage, fermented with a meager amount of salt and maybe a few specks of red pepper, if you were lucky. It is sour, it is pungent, and it is your primary source of vitamins. You eat slowly, methodically, using a pair of worn wooden chopsticks. Every mouthful is chewed until it's a paste to extract every last bit of energy. You don't savor the food, you absorb it. As you eat, you can hear the state-run radio crackling to life from a speaker mounted on a pole outside your building. It doesn't play music you'd enjoy. It plays patriotic marches, hymns praising the infinite wisdom of the Supreme Leader, and news reports detailing the latest glorious achievements in turnip production. The voice of the announcer is perpetually cheerful, a jarring contrast to the gray reality outside your window. The broadcast is a reminder that even this quiet, personal moment of eating is not truly yours. The state is here, in your head, at your breakfast table. You finish the last of the porridge, scraping the bowl clean with a chopstick. The gnawing feeling in your stomach has subsided to a dull ache. It will be back in a few hours. It always island. There is no second helping, no snack to look forward to. This is it. You have consumed your fuel. Now you must perform your function. You look up at the portraits on the wall. Their serene smiles seem to mock your meager meal, but you feel nothing. Or rather, you've taught yourself to feel nothing. Feeling is dangerous. It's time to get dressed and face the day. The flickering light bulb dies, plunging the room into the cold, gray dawn. The hour of electricity is over. You must now navigate the rest of your morning in the half-light, a skill you perfected long ago. It's time to choose your outfit, which is no choice at all. Your wardrobe consists of a few sets of state-approved, state-produced clothing hanging from a nail on the wall. There is no fashion in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. There is only uniformity. Your clothes are practical, drab, and designed to erase individuality. For men, it's typically a pair of dark trousers and a button-up shirt or a simple jacket. For women, a conservative blouse and skirt or trousers. The colors are muted gray, brown, dark blue, the colors of conformity. The fabric is likely vinylon, a stiff synthetic fiber invented in North Korea and hailed by propaganda as the juche fiber, a triumph of self-reliance. In reality, it is uncomfortable, doesn't hold warmth well, and feels like wearing a very thin, sad potato sack. But it is what you have. You dress quickly, your fingers accustomed to the familiar buttons and seams. Every piece of clothing you own is a symbol of your place in the rigid social hierarchy known as Songbun. This caste system, established by Kim Il-sung, classifies every citizen into one of three main categories: the core class, the wavering class, or the hostile class. Your Songbun is determined by the actions and loyalties of your ancestors during the Japanese colonial period and the Korean War. It is branded on your soul from birth, and it dictates everything: your access to education, your job, your housing, where you are allowed to live, and even the amount of food you receive. You, like most citizens, are likely in the wavering class, not trusted enough for a top position in Pyongyang, but not deemed hostile enough to be sent to a political prison camp. You are simply there, a cog in the machine. Your plain, Functional clothing reflects this status perfectly. It is the uniform of the unremarkable, the unseen masses who keep the country running through sheer, uncomplaining labor. As you put on your worn-out shoes, likely made of plastic or recycled rubber, you do a final check. No dirt on the mandatory pin worn over your heart, the small badge bearing the image of the great leader. Losing this pin is a serious crime. Forgetting to wear it is an act of ideological sloppiness. Everything must be in its place. You are now ready to leave. You step out of your apartment and into the dimly lit concrete hallway. The air is thick with the smell of coal, smoke, and boiled cabbage. You join a silent stream of your neighbors, all dressed in similar drab colors, all with the same expressionless faces, making their way down the crumbling, rickety stairs. No one makes eye contact. No one smiles. A friendly greeting could be misconstrued. A shared glance could be seen as a conspiracy. It is safer to remain anonymous, to be a ghost in your own life. You are just one of thousands pouring out of identical apartment blocks, a river of gray flowing into the streets to begin another day of service to the state. And the real journey has only just begun. You emerge from the dark, stale air of your apartment building into the sharp, cold morning of the city. Whether you're in Pyongyang, Hamhung, or Chongjin, the scene is eerily similar. The streets are wide, immaculately clean in the city center, but strangely empty. There are very few cars. Private car ownership is a privilege reserved for the highest echelons of the elite. What you see instead are ancient, lumbering trolley buses, belching black smoke, their sides crammed with people clinging on for dear life. You see military trucks rumbling past, filled with soldiers whose young faces are already hard and emotionless. And you see people, thousands of people walking. The city is a city of walkers. Your commute is a long, silent march. You join the endless procession of workers, their footsteps a soft, shuffling rhythm on the pavement. The city itself is a stage, a massive piece of political theater. Giant bronze statues of the Kims dominate every major plaza, their arms outstretched in benevolent poses that feel more menacing than welcoming. Propaganda posters are everywhere, plastered on the sides of buildings, their bright red and yellow colors a stark contrast to the gray landscape. They depict smiling, rosy-cheeked farmers exceeding their rice quotas, heroic soldiers defending the motherland from the American imperialist wolves, and factory workers joyfully operating machinery that in reality has been broken for years. The slogans are relentless: let us live our own way, single-minded unity. We have nothing to envy in the world. You walk past these posters without seeing them. You learned long ago to tune them out, to let the messages wash over you like meaningless noise. To actually read them and compare them to your reality would be an act of psychological self-harm. Along your route, you see the Inminban leader, the head of your local neighborhood watch, standing on a corner, observing. She is usually a middle-aged woman, a loyal party member with sharp eyes and a notebook. She knows who leaves for work on time, who has a visitor, whose child didn't sing the patriotic songs with enough vigor. She is the state's eyes and ears on your block, and her report can ruin your life. You keep your head down and your pace steady. You might pass a group of students marching in perfect formation, chanting loyalty pledges on their way to school. Their young voices echo in the quiet streets, a sound that is both innocent and deeply chilling. They are being molded, their minds shaped and hardened into perfect servants of the regime. You finally reach the bus stop. A huge crowd is already gathered, waiting patiently in an orderly queue. When the ancient, groaning trolley bus arrives, the order dissolves into a silent, desperate scrum. People push and shove to get on. There are no apologies, no complaints. It is the silent, understood struggle for a few square inches of space. You manage to squeeze yourself on your body pressed against strangers, the smell of unwashed bodies and cheap tobacco filling your lungs. The bus lurches forward, and you stare out the window at the city, passing by a city of grand monuments and quiet desperation, of loud slogans and silent suffering. And you haven't even gotten to work yet. After a long, crowded, and soul-crushingly bleak commute, you arrive at your place of work. It could be a textile factory, a steel mill, a collective farm, or a construction site for some grand, unnecessary monument. The location doesn't matter. The routine is always the same. Your workday does not begin with work. It begins with ideological purification. You and your fellow workers assemble in a cold, dusty hall or an open yard, standing in neat rows. A party official, his face a mask of stern importance, stands before you. First comes the anthem. As the tinny, distorted music blares from a loudspeaker, you must sing with all your heart, or at least pretend to. Your voice must be strong, your expression full of patriotic fervor. To mumble the words or look bored is to invite suspicion. You sing about the greatness of the leaders, the glory of the Juche idea, and the inevitable victory over the imperialist enemies. You've sung these words thousands of times. They are meaningless, yet they are everything. Next comes the reading of the day's editorial from the Rodong Sinmun, the official state newspaper. The party official reads in a loud, dramatic monotone, detailing the supreme leader's latest genius, on-the-spot guidance at a fish farm, or denouncing the latest depraved acts of the South Korean puppet regime. You must listen with rapt attention, nodding at the appropriate moments to show you are absorbing the party's wisdom. Your mind, however, is likely elsewhere, calculating how to make your meager lunch last, or worrying about your sick mother, or simply trying to stay awake. The session concludes with a pledge. You raise your fist and shout in unison a promise to work harder, to sacrifice more, to devote your entire being to the glory of the Marshal and the prosperity of the socialist motherland. Your voice joins hundreds of others, a single, powerful wave of sound. It is a performance. Everyone is acting. Everyone knows everyone else is acting, but no one dares to break character. To do so would be to admit that the entire system is a lie, and that is the one truth that can get you killed. Only after this ceremony of devotion is complete are you permitted to begin your actual labor. You file off to your station, the patriotic music still echoing in your ears. The state has been fed its morning tribute of loyalty. Now, you must feed it with your sweat. The work itself is a testament to a system frozen in time. If you're on a farm, your tools are likely a wooden hoe and a sickle. There are no modern tractors, no advanced irrigation systems. You work the fields by hand, your back bent under the sun, performing the same grueling labor your ancestors did a century ago. The land is tired, the soil depleted from years of mismanagement and lack of fertilizer. The quotas set by the state are impossible. fantasies dreamed up by bureaucrats in Pyongyang who have never seen a muddy field. But you must strive to meet them. Failure to do so is not just an agricultural problem, it's an ideological one. It means you have failed the leader. If you're in a factory, the scene is just as grim. The machinery is ancient, Soviet-era relics from the 1960s, constantly breaking down. Spare parts are non-existent. Workers become expert mechanics out of sheer necessity, patching up machines with scrap metal and ingenuity. The air is thick with dust or chemical fumes. Safety regulations are a foreign concept. Accidents are common, and a lost limb is often met with a simple, "Be more careful next time." The pressure to produce is immense. Propaganda slogans on the walls scream at you to fulfill the plan ahead of schedule and to embody the speed of Kalima, a mythical winged horse known for its incredible speed. But you can't create steel without coal, or weave fabric without thread, and the supply chain is perpetually broken. So you spend much of your day waiting for raw materials to arrive, waiting for the electricity to come back on, waiting for a broken machine to be fixed. But you cannot be seen to be idle. You must look busy. You sweep the floor. You clean your tools. You study a tattered copy of the Supreme Leader's latest speech. Your productivity is less important than your performance of productivity. You are paid not for what you produce, but for showing up and demonstrating your loyalty. Your wages are pitifully small, barely enough to supplement the state rations. The real currency in this world is not the North Korean won, its connections, favors, and access to the black market. But here, in the factory or the field, you are simply a number, a body, a pair of hands to be worn down in the service of a cause you no longer believe in, if you ever did. And the party official is always watching. Midday arrives, and with it, the brief respite of lunch. You do not go to a cafeteria or a break room. You simply find a patch of ground away from the dust or the mud and open your dosarak, your lunchbox. Inside, the contents are as predictable as the morning propaganda. A small portion of cold, boiled rice, often mixed with maize, to make it stretch further. A helping of kimchi, its sour crunch a welcome distraction from the blandness of the rice. And perhaps, if you are fortunate, a small piece of pickled radish or a few boiled beans. There is no meat. Meat is for holidays, for the elite, or for those with the means to trade for it on the black market. You eat in silence or in hushed tones with a trusted co-worker. The conversation is never about politics. It is never about your true feelings. It is about the weather, about your children's health, about the price of corn at the local jangmadang. It is small talk, the safe, shallow water where you can exist without drowning. But even here, in this moment of rest, the system is at work. You see others with slightly better lunches, a boiled egg, perhaps, or a piece of tofu. You know immediately that they have a better connection, a more successful side hustle, a higher Songbun. Your lunch is a public declaration of your place in the world. As you eat, another, more illicit economy is humming just beneath the surface. This is the world of the jangmadang, the black markets that sprang up out of desperation during the famine and have since become the true engine of the North Korean economy. Here, in the shadows of the workplace, quiet deals are made. A woman who works at a clothing factory might have smuggled out a few extra pairs of socks. She trades them to a man from a tobacco factory for a handful of loose cigarettes. That man then trades the socks to a farmer for a small bag of potatoes. It is a complex, intricate dance of survival, grassroots capitalism that the state both despises and tacitly allows, because it knows without it the entire country would collapse. You might have something to trade yourself. Maybe you saved a small portion of your electricity this morning to charge a neighbor's contraband radio battery for a fee. Or perhaps you are skilled at repairing shoes, a valuable service in a country where nothing is ever thrown away. These small acts of entrepreneurship are illegal. If caught, you could be sent to a labor training camp, but the risk is necessary. The state provides the ideology, the black market provides the food, you finish your lunch. The gnawing hunger has been pushed back once more, but it lingers at the edges of your thoughts. You pack away your empty dozy rack and prepare to return to the mindless, exhausting labor of the afternoon. The break is over. Your function must continue. You are not just a worker, you are a citizen of the most rigid social hierarchy on the planet. And every second of your day is governed by an invisible force, a stain on your soul that you can never wash away. It is called Songbun. It is your social classification, and it is more important than your name, your skills, or your character. The system is brutally simple. It divides the entire population into 3 classes based on the perceived loyalty of your ancestors to the Kim regime. At the top is the core class. These are the descendants of revolutionary fighters who fought alongside Kim Il-sung, the party elite, the high-ranking military officials. They live in the capital, Pyongyang, a carefully curated socialist paradise. They have access to the best housing, the best jobs, the best schools, and, most importantly, consistent food and electricity. They are the 1% of North Korea, the trusted few who uphold the system because they benefit from it. At the bottom is the hostile class. These are the descendants of landowners, merchants, Christians, or anyone who collaborated with the Japanese or South Koreans before and during the war. They are the enemies of the state, the politically suspect. They are banished to the poorest, most remote provinces. They are given the most dangerous jobs, the smallest rations, and are the first to be suspected of any crime or act of dissent. Their lives are a kind of open-air prison, and the sentence was passed down 3 generations ago. And then there is you. You are part of the vast, silent majority, the wavering class. Your ancestors were ordinary peasants, laborers, or clerks. They were neither heroes of the revolution nor traitors. They were just people, and so you are deemed ideologically neutral, capable of loyalty but not fully trusted. You are allowed to live, to work, to exist, but your life is a permanent audition. You can never rise into the core class, but you can, with one wrong move, fall into the hostile class. Your Songbun dictates everything. It determined that you could not attend the best university, that you would work in this factory instead of a government office, that you live in this crumbling apartment block instead of a modern Pyongyang high-rise. If you want to marry someone, their Songbun will be scrutinized. Marrying into a lower class is social suicide for you and your future children. You carry this invisible label with you everywhere. When you meet someone, you are subtly trying to gauge their status, the quality of their shoes, their accent, the confidence in their eyes, all are clues. It is a system designed to atomize society, to create suspicion and division. You cannot unite with your fellow citizens against the regime because you are too busy competing with them for the scraps the regime throws you. You are not a person, you are a category, a file in a dusty government office in Pyongyang, a name with a stamp of approval, denial, or suspicion next to it. You did nothing to earn it, and you can do nothing to change it. It is the original sin of being born North Korean, and it is a weight you carry every single day. The afternoon drags on, a slow, grinding procession of repetitive labor and soul-crushing boredom. But just when you think you can fade into the background, a new kind of performance is demanded of you. It is time for the weekly self-criticism session. This is one of the regime's most insidious and effective tools of psychological control. The entire work unit gathers once again. The doors are closed. The atmosphere shifts from one of weary drudgery to one of tense, palpable fear. This is not a team-building exercise. This is a ritual of controlled paranoia. The party official begins selecting one person at random. Comrade Lee, he might say, his voice flat and cold. Please begin. Comrade Lee, a man you've worked alongside for 10 years, shuffles to the front of the room. He must now engage in a public act of ideological self-flagellation. He must confess his failings, his weaknesses, his moments of insufficient revolutionary zeal. He speaks in a scripted, robotic tone. I have failed to live up to the teachings of the great leader, he begins. This week, my mind wandered during the morning pledge. I was thinking of my sick son instead of the glory of the socialist motherland. I was not diligent enough in cleaning my machine, an act of disrespect to the precious state property entrusted to me. His confession must be specific, but not too specific. To confess a truly serious crime would be to sign your own death warrant. To confess nothing would be to display an arrogant belief in your own perfection. It is a terrifying tightrope walk. But the worst is yet to come. After confessing his own sins, Comrade Lee must now criticize one of his peers. He must point a finger at someone else in the room and expose their failings. His eyes scan the crowd. No one meets his gaze. Everyone is staring at the floor, praying they are not chosen. I have also observed, he continues, his voice strained, that Comrade Park has been arriving 2 minutes late to the morning indoctrination sessions. This shows a lack of revolutionary discipline and a bourgeois spirit of laziness. Comrade Park flinches as if struck. He must now stand and accept the criticism, thank his comrade for helping him on his path to ideological purity, and promise to do better. And so it goes around the room. Friend is forced to denounce friend, neighbor to accuse neighbor. You are all simultaneously victims and perpetrators. You are forced to become an agent of the state's oppression, a cog in the machine that polices your own thoughts. When it is your turn, your heart pounds in your chest. You rack your brain for a minor, believable failing. I did not work with enough passion yesterday afternoon. My thoughts were weak. Then the moment you dread, you must choose someone to criticize. You pick someone you know has a relatively clean record, someone who won't face serious repercussions. Comrade Kim was humming a tune that was not a patriotic song. It is a petty, ridiculous accusation, but it is safe. Comrade Kim bows his head in shame. You return to your place, your body trembling with a mixture of relief and self-loathing. The session has served its purpose. It has sown distrust. It has reinforced the idea that you are always being watched, not just by the state, but by everyone around you. It has turned the entire society into a panopticon, where the prisoners guard each other. There is no solidarity here. There is only suspicion. And the session isn't over yet. Throughout this entire day, from the moment you woke up to the agonizing performance of the self-criticism session, you've had a constant nagging feeling in the back of your mind. It's the feeling of being watched. This isn't paranoia. It is a rational response to your reality. Surveillance in North Korea is not a secret program. It is a fundamental pillar of the state, as visible and essential as the portraits of the Kims. At the top of the pyramid of watchers is the Ministry of State Security, the Bowibu. They are the secret police, the enforcers of loyalty, the ones who come in the night. They are a shadowy, feared organization with a network of informants that penetrates every level of society. They are the reason people speak in whispers. They are the reason you avoid talking to strangers. They are the boogeymen of the revolution, and they are very, very real. But the Bowibu don't need to be everywhere, because they have deputized the entire population. Your Inman leader, the neighborhood watch chief, reports on the comings and goings of every family on your block. She knows if you had an argument with your spouse, if you received a rare letter, if you spent too much time listening to the static between stations on your fixed-line radio. Your party official at work monitors your ideological purity, your work ethic, your enthusiasm during propaganda sessions. He keeps a file on you. Your performance today will be noted. But the most effective surveillance comes from your peers. The self-criticism sessions have trained everyone to be an informant. Your coworker who you shared a joke with yesterday might denounce you today to save himself. Your friend who you complained to about the poor rations might report you to prove his own loyalty. Even your own family is not safe. Children are taught in school that their highest duty is to the supreme leader. They are encouraged to report on their parents' anti-state activities. A child might innocently repeat something they heard at the dinner table, a complaint about the price of rice, a tired sigh about the long work hours. That innocent comment passed on to a teacher can lead to a family being torn apart. This is why you live in a state of perpetual performance. You smile when you are told to smile. You clap when you are told to clap. You weep with patriotic grief when the announcer on the state television describes the hardships the great leader endured to build the nation. You have a public face and a private face, and you must never ever let them mix. The walls truly do have ears. Your own mind is the only place you can be free, and even that feels like a prison, because the thoughts you have of doubt, of despair, of a world outside this one are the most dangerous thoughts you can possibly have. To think them is a risk. To speak them is a death sentence. Suddenly, the factory grinds to a halt. The ancient machines groan and then fall silent. The single dim light bulb overhead goes dark. The daily power outage has arrived earlier than usual today. A collective, unspoken sigh ripples through the workers. This is a normal part of life in North Korea, a country that operates on a perpetually failing power grid. The military first policy means that what little energy is produced is funneled to the army, to the munitions factories, and to the showcase capital of Pyongyang. The rest of the country is left in the dark. For you, The outage is both a blessing and a curse. The blessing is that the backbreaking, monotonous labor stops. The curse is that you are now trapped, waiting in the cold, dark factory, with nothing to do but exist in the oppressive silence. You cannot leave. Leaving before the official end of the workday is an act of desertion. So you wait. The party official might try to organize an impromptu study session of the leader's works, with everyone straining to read the propaganda texts in the gloom. Or you might be ordered to do manual tasks that don't require electricity, like cleaning tools or sorting materials by hand. But mostly, you wait, you sit on the floor, your body aching, and you stare into the darkness. It is in these moments of forced stillness that the mind can become dangerous. The constant hum of the machinery, the shouting of the foreman, the patriotic music, all of it serves as a distraction from your reality. But in the silence, the thoughts you try so hard to suppress begin to creep in. You think about the hunger, you think about your family, you think about the endless, repetitive cycle of your life, and sometimes a flicker of an insane, impossible idea ignites in the darkness. Escape. You've heard the whispers, the stories that filter through the black market, carried by traders who have contact with the world outside. Stories of people who made it, people who crossed the Yalu or Tumen rivers into China, who navigated a treacherous underground railroad through Southeast Asia, and who finally reached the glittering, impossibly rich land of South Korea. You imagine it for a moment. What would it be like to eat until you are full, to choose your own clothes, to speak without fear, to walk down a street lit up with a million lights at night? The dream is so powerful, so vivid, it makes your heart ache. But then reality crashes back in with the force of a physical blow, the danger. The border is lined with barbed wire, watchtowers, and soldiers with orders to shoot on sight. If you are caught, it is not a simple arrest. It is a one-way ticket to a political prison camp, a Kwanliso, a place from which no one returns. And you would not go alone. The regime practices a policy of three-generation punishment. If you commit a political crime, your parents, your children, and your grandchildren will be condemned along with you. They will be ripped from their homes and sent to a labor camp to live out their days in starvation and misery. Your selfish dream of freedom would be a death sentence for everyone you love. The thought is so horrifying it snuffs out the flicker of hope instantly. You push the dream down deep into the recesses of your mind, where you keep all the other forbidden things. The power lurches back on. The lights flicker, the machines groan to life. The moment of dangerous reflection is over. It's time to get back to work. You are a prisoner, and your prison has no walls. It is the country itself. You know almost nothing about the world beyond your borders, because the state has built a fortress around your mind. There is no internet. The concept of a global, interconnected web of information is as alien to you as magic. The only computer network is a domestic intranet called Kwangmyong, a walled garden of censored, state-approved content. It has a few thousand websites, all of them filled with propaganda, scientific papers praising Juche theory, and recipes for how to make delicious turnip soup. It is a digital reflection of your physical prison. The radios in your home are fixed to state channels. It is illegal to own a radio that can be tuned to foreign frequencies. To be caught listening to a South Korean broadcast or a Voice of America report is an act of espionage. The penalty is severe. The newspapers, like the Rodong Sinmun, are not sources of information. They are instruments of indoctrination. The front page is always the same, a large photo of the supreme leader smiling benevolently surrounded by adoring soldiers or children. The articles are filled with florid praise for his genius and vitriolic denunciations of the American imperialists and their South Korean puppet lackeys. The outside world, as presented to you, is a terrifying, degenerate hellscape. America is a land of starving, homeless people ruled by cruel warmongers. South Korea is a poverty-stricken colony where citizens beg for food under the boot of their American masters. You have been told this your entire life, in school, in the newspapers, on the television, but in the quiet, hidden corners of your mind, you have doubts. The doubts are fueled by the contraband media that trickles across the border from China. Smuggled USB sticks and micro SD cards are the most valuable currency in the black market. They are called alpan, or bullets, because they are small, easily hidden, and can be metaphorically lethal if you're caught. On these tiny devices is a window to another universe. A South Korean drama series with its beautiful, well-fed actors, fashionable clothes, and stories of love and betrayal that have nothing to do with revolutionary struggle. A Hollywood action movie with its impossible explosions and vision of a world of unimaginable wealth and freedom. To watch one of these is an act of defiance, a secret rebellion conducted in the dead of night under a thick blanket with the volume turned down to a barely audible whisper. The risk is astronomical. The state has created special units to hunt down consumers of illegal media. They conduct surprise raids, cutting the power to a building and then going door to door, checking for the telltale heat of a recently used DVD player or laptop. If you are caught, you will not be given a warning. You will be made an example of. Yet, people still take the risk, because these small, flickering images are the only proof that the world the state has created for you is a lie. They are a poison to the regime's propaganda and a lifeline to your own dwindling sense of reality. You have never seen one of these alpan yourself. It is too dangerous. But you have heard the stories, and those stories plant a seed of doubt that the state, with all its power, can never fully uproot. You have a persistent cough, and a fever is starting to creep in. In the modern world, this would be an inconvenience. In North Korea, it is a potential death sentence. You cannot call in sick. Missing a day of work without an official state-sanctioned excuse is a crime. So you must go to the hospital. The hospital is a large, imposing concrete building, but as you step inside, the facade of state competence crumbles. The hallways are dark and cold. There is no heating, even in the depths of winter. The air smells of antiseptic, decay, and unwashed bodies. You will not see a doctor right away. You will wait for hours in a crowded waiting room filled with people who look far sicker than you. When you are finally seen, the doctor, a weary-looking man in a stained white coat, can offer you little more than a diagnosis. The shelves in the hospital pharmacy are bare. There are no antibiotics, no painkillers, no modern medicines. The state's military first policy means that any imported or domestically produced medicine goes directly to the army or the elite in Pyongyang. The free, universal healthcare system, once a pillar of the state's propaganda, has completely collapsed. The doctor might prescribe a traditional herbal remedy, something made from bark or roots, which will have little effect on a serious infection. Or he might simply write you a prescription for a medicine that doesn't exist, and it will be up to you to try and find it on the black market. This is where the real healthcare system operates. If you want penicillin, you must buy it from a trader who has smuggled it in from China. It will cost you a fortune, perhaps several months' worth of your official salary. You will have to sell your family's meager possessions or take a desperate risk on a black market deal to afford it. And you can never be sure if the medicine is real or a counterfeit. You might also be expected to pay for your treatment in other ways. A carton of cigarettes for the doctor, a bag of rice for the nurse. The entire system runs on bribes and barter. If you need surgery, the situation is even more dire. Anesthesia is often unavailable. You might be operated on while fully conscious, with only a shot of cheap liquor to dull the pain. The surgical tools are old and are often sterilized over an open flame. The risk of infection is astronomical. Many people who enter a North Korean hospital for a routine procedure never leave. So you take the doctor's herbal prescription, you thank him for his service to the state, and you leave the cold, dark hospital feeling more hopeless than when you arrived. Your fever is getting worse. You know that your best hope for survival lies not with the state, but with your own ingenuity and the dangerous, illegal world of the Jangmadang. Your health is in your own hands, and your hands are empty. The long, exhausting workday is finally over. As the sun begins to sink, casting long, orange shadows over the gray city, you join the silent, shuffling exodus of workers heading home. The journey back is a mirror image of the morning's commute, but tinged with a deeper layer of fatigue. The trolley buses are even more crowded now, the air inside thick and stale. The walk through the streets feels longer, your body aching from a day of physical labor and mental strain. The propaganda posters seem to mock you with their images of smiling, energetic workers. The bronze statues of the Kims look down on you with what feels like cold indifference. As you get closer to your apartment block, the clean, wide avenues of the city center give way to narrower, dirtier streets. The facade of order begins to crumble, and the raw reality of daily life becomes more visible. You see women gathered around a communal water pump, patiently waiting their turn to fill buckets. You see children playing in the dirt, their laughter a rare, precious sound in this world of enforced solemnity. You see old men sitting on stoops, smoking harsh, hand-rolled cigarettes, and staring into the distance, their faces a roadmap of a hard-lived life. The smell of cooking fires begins to fill the air. It's the smell of coal, of wood, of whatever people could scavenge to create a flame. It mixes with the ever-present smell of sewage and decay. This is the scent of home. You finally arrive at your building and begin the long, arduous climb up the dark, crumbling staircase. Each step is an effort. Your legs feel heavy, your lungs burn. When you reach your floor, you pause for a moment before entering your apartment, steeling yourself for what comes next. Because the workday may be over, but the struggle for survival is not. Now comes the most important task of the evening: securing dinner. The food you receive from the state's public distribution system is never, ever enough. The monthly ration of grain, corn, and kimchi is meant to sustain a family, but it often runs out within 2 weeks. The rest of the month is a constant, desperate scramble. This is where your ingenuity, your connections, and your willingness to break the law become a matter of life and death. Your first stop might be a small, illegal garden plot. Many North Koreans maintain these tiny patches of land on the outskirts of the city or on nearby hillsides. They are technically illegal, as all land belongs to the state. But local officials, often bribed with a portion of the harvest, turn a blind eye. Here, you might grow a few potatoes, some cabbage, or a row of corn. It is back-breaking work, done after your official workday is over, but this small plot of land is your lifeline. Tonight, you might be lucky enough to harvest a few small, wrinkled potatoes. It's not much, but it's more than you had yesterday. Next, you might check in on a small side business. Perhaps you have a skill for repairing bicycles, and a neighbor has paid you with a few eggs from their illicit chicken. Or maybe your wife is skilled at brewing her own alcohol from corn, a highly illegal but very profitable venture that she sells to trusted neighbors. These black market activities are the lifeblood of the North Korean people. They are the invisible economy that keeps the country from starving. Finally, you might head to the local Jangmadang. This is the official market, but it is a chaotic, thriving hub of both legal and illegal trade. Here, you can find everything from Chinese-made electronics to smuggled bags of rice. The prices are exorbitant, but it is the only place to find what the state cannot provide. You might trade your newly acquired potatoes for a small piece of salted fish or a handful of beans. Every transaction is a negotiation, a game of wits and desperation. You return to your apartment, your small treasures clutched in your hand. Tonight's dinner will be a feast, by your standards. Boiled potatoes and a small piece of fish to flavor the watery soup. It is a victory, a small act of defiance against a system designed to keep you hungry and dependent. You have survived another day, you have fed your family, and you have done it not through the grace of the state, but in spite of it. You gather with your family for the evening meal. Your small apartment, which feels so cold and empty in the morning, is now filled with a fragile warmth. Your wife has managed to cook the potatoes and fish over a small makeshift charcoal burner on the balcony, a dangerous but necessary fire hazard. The smell fills the room, a rare moment of comfort. You sit on the floor around a low table. The meal is served. Everyone knows how precious this food island. No one complains. The children, despite their hunger, eat with a quiet, disciplined slowness. They have learned from a young age that food is not to be taken for granted. The conversation is muted, careful. You talk about your day at the factory. Your wife talks about her day of mending clothes and caring for the garden. You ask the children what they learned in school. The answer is always the same. We learned about the infinite love of the great leader. We learned how to identify the American imperialist aggressors. Your children are being systematically indoctrinated. They are taught that the state is their true parent, that their loyalty to the supreme leader must be absolute, even greater than their loyalty to you. They are encouraged to be vigilant, to listen for any anti-revolutionary talk at home. You know this. And so you can never be fully honest with your own children. You cannot share your doubts, your fears, your frustrations. To do so would be to place them in an impossible position, to potentially turn them into unwilling informants against their own parents. The home is not a sanctuary, it is another stage. The walls have ears, and those ears might belong to your own son or daughter. So you smile, you praise the state, you tell your children how lucky they are to live in the world's greatest socialist paradise under the benevolent care of the marshal. You lie. You lie to protect them, you lie to protect yourself. It is the most painful performance of the day. After dinner, the family might gather around the state-run television. If you are lucky enough to own one and the electricity is on, you will watch the evening news, which consists of more fawning coverage of the Supreme Leader's activities, followed by a historical drama about the heroic exploits of Kim Il-sung during the anti-Japanese struggle. The stories are always the same, the message is always the same, the heroes are always the same. The performance of a happy, loyal family continues until it is time for bed. You tuck your children in, their small bodies thin under the coarse blankets. You look at their faces in the dim light, and you feel a wave of love so fierce it is physically painful. You want to give them a better world, but you are trapped in this one, and all you can do is teach them how to survive it. By lying, the meager dinner is finished, the dishes are cleaned with a damp rag, and the long, dark evening stretches before you. What do you do for fun? How do you relax in a world that is designed for perpetual tension? The answer is simple: you don't. Or rather, your concept of fun has been completely redefined by the state. Entertainment, like everything else in North Korea, is a tool of indoctrination. If you are in a major city, you might be encouraged to attend a performance at the local theater. The options are limited. You can watch a revolutionary opera, a grand, sweeping spectacle with a cast of hundreds, telling the story of a heroic peasant who sacrifices everything for the party. The music is loud, the emotions are overwrought, and the message is hammered home with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. Or you could attend a circus performance where acrobats perform death-defying feats, all dedicated to the glory of the Supreme Leader. The announcer will remind you that their incredible skill is a direct result of the leader's benevolent guidance. There is no art for art's sake. There is only art in the service of the state. The most spectacular form of state-sanctioned entertainment is the mass games. These are the giant, synchronized performances you may have seen on the news, involving tens of thousands of participants moving in perfect, terrifying unison. From the stands, they create giant, flipping mosaics that spell out patriotic slogans or form images of the leaders. To be a participant in the mass games is considered an honor, but it is an honor that requires months of grueling, repetitive practice, often for hours a day after school or work. It is the ultimate expression of the state's ideology. The individual is nothing, the collective is everything. But what if you just want to stay home? You could read a book, but the only books available are the collected works of the Kim dynasty, hagiographies of revolutionary martyrs, or technical manuals on how to increase potato yields. There are no romance novels, no detective stories, no fantasy epics. Your imagination is not a place for escape. It is a place to be colonized by the state. You could listen to music, but your fixed-line radio only plays patriotic anthems, folk songs praising the beauty of the motherland, and the light, fluffy pop music of the state-approved girl group, the Moranbong Band. Their songs are catchy, but the lyrics are always about their love for the marshal. Even falling in love is a revolutionary act, performed in his name. This is the official culture. It is all you are supposed to know. It is designed to be inescapable, to fill every moment of your leisure time with the same relentless message of loyalty and sacrifice. It is entertainment as a form of sensory deprivation, designed to starve your mind of any alternative way of thinking or feeling. But there is another world, a secret world, a dangerous world, and it is calling to you. In the suffocating landscape of state-sanctioned culture, there is a thriving underground, a secret world of forbidden pleasure that represents the single greatest threat to the regime's control. This is the world of black market media. It is a rebellion that fits on a micro SD card. After the children are asleep, and you are certain the Inminban leader is not making her rounds, the real entertainment begins. You retrieve the Alpan, the smuggled USB stick you traded a month's worth of rations for. It is your most dangerous and most precious possession. You huddle with your spouse in the corner of your small apartment under a thick blanket to block the light from the window. You have a small portable media player, a nodal, which is common in North Korea. It's a Chinese-made device that can play DVDs and files from USB sticks. And crucially, it has a battery, making it immune to the country's unpredictable power grid. You plug in the USB stick, your heart is pounding. The penalty for being caught with this is not a fine or a warning. It is a one-way trip to a political prison camp for your entire family. But you press play anyway. The screen flickers to life, and for a few hours, you are transported to another universe. It might be a South Korean drama. You watch beautiful actors wearing clothes you could only dream of, living in bright, clean apartments with refrigerators full of food. They fall in love, they have arguments, they experience a range of human emotions that have been scrubbed from your own state-approved media. They are free, and watching them is both exhilarating and deeply painful. It shows you everything you don't have. It fans the flames of your discontent. Or perhaps tonight you are watching a Hollywood action movie. The explosions, the high-speed chases, the vision of a world of unimaginable wealth and technological prowess. It is so far removed from your reality it might as well be science fiction. But it plants a seed. It shows you that the state's depiction of the outside world as a starving, decrepit hellscape is a lie. This is why the regime fears these little plastic devices more than anything else. A missile can be shot down, a border can be fortified, but an idea, once it takes root in the mind of the people, is impossible to kill. The state fights a relentless war against this influx of information. There are special military units, Bureau 109, whose sole job is to hunt down and punish consumers of illegal media. They conduct raids, they have informants, they check the settings on radios and televisions. They are the cultural secret police, but they are fighting a losing battle. The desire for truth, for escape, for a simple love story that isn't about the dear leader, is a powerful human impulse. You finish the movie, your mind reeling. You quickly hide the Notel and the USB stick. You lie in the dark, the images from the screen still burning in your mind. For a few hours, you were free, but now you are back in your prison, and the knowledge of what lies outside makes the walls feel like they are closing in even tighter. One of the reasons your life is so hard, your rations so small, and your electricity so scarce can be summed up in 2 words: Songbun, or military first. This is the state ideology, elevated to supreme importance by Kim Jong-il, which dictates that the Korean People's Army is the absolute priority of the state, Everything comes second to the military. The KPA is not just an army, it is the largest institution in the country, a gargantuan organization that consumes a vast portion of the nation's GDP. While you struggle to find enough food to feed your family, the military receives the best rations, the newest equipment, and the lion's share of the national budget. While your factory's machinery rusts and breaks down, new tanks, missiles, and artillery are proudly displayed in military parades. This policy has turned North Korea into one of the most militarized societies on Earth. Military service is mandatory and can last for up to 10 years. For many young men and women, it is the only viable career path. Life in the KPA is brutally hard. The training is grueling, the discipline is absolute, and the indoctrination is even more intense than in civilian life. Soldiers are taught that they are the human shields protecting the socialist motherland from imminent invasion by the American imperialists. They are fed a steady diet of anti-American propaganda, hatred, and leader worship. But even within the military, there are hierarchies. Soldiers are often used as a source of free labor, forced to work on construction projects or on farms to supplement their own meager food supplies. Malnutrition and disease are rampant, especially among lower-ranking conscripts. The image of a well-fed, elite soldier seen in Pyongyang parades is a far cry from the reality for the average soldier stationed in a remote rural outpost. The military is also a source of immense national pride, carefully cultivated by state propaganda. The development of nuclear weapons, achieved at the cost of immense international sanctions and the starvation of its own people, is presented as the ultimate guarantor of the nation's sovereignty. It is the ultimate symbol of Juche, or self-reliance. You see the symbols of military might everywhere. Soldiers are a common sight on the streets. Military slogans are painted on buildings. Children play war games, pretending to be heroic KPA soldiers fighting the American enemy. You are taught to revere the army, to see them as your protectors, but you also know the truth. You know that the rice that should be in your bowl is in the belly of a soldier. You know that the electricity that should be lighting your home is powering a military base. The army is not just your shield, it is your burden. It is the reason your country is a permanent garrison state, forever on a war footing, sacrificing the present for a future of glorious military victory that never seems to arrive. And tonight, you might be forced to witness the ultimate expression of the state's power. It is not always a daily or weekly event, but it happens often enough to be a chillingly normal part of life. A public execution. You are not invited, you are ordered to attend. Your work unit is marched to a public square, a riverbank, or a sports stadium. The atmosphere is not one of ghoulish excitement, but of grim, silent dread. Thousands of people are gathered, a sea of expressionless faces. The accused is brought out, their hands bound, their face bruised and swollen from interrogation. They are often little more than a teenager. Their crime? It could be anything. Attempting to defect, selling state property on the black market, hoarding grain, or the most common crime of late, watching and distributing illegal media from South Korea. A party official reads the charges in a loud, booming voice. The accused is a traitor, a human scum, a flunky of the imperialists who has attempted to poison the pure socialist spirit of the people with their decadent, reactionary culture. The accused does not speak. They have likely been tortured for weeks and have already signed a full confession. There is no trial, no defense, no appeal. This is not about justice. This is about pedagogy. It is a lesson, a demonstration, a warning. The sentence is announced. Death. The method is brutal and efficient. Firing squad. The sound of the rifles cracks through the silent crowd. The body slumps to the ground. It is over in seconds. But the performance is not. Now comes the most important part for you, the spectator. You must show the correct emotional response. You must not show pity. Pity for a traitor is an act of ideological solidarity with the enemy. You must not show fear. Fear suggests a guilty conscience. You must show anger. You must join in the chorus of denunciation, shouting death to the traitor. Your face must be a mask of righteous fury. You look at your neighbors, your co-workers. They are all shouting, their faces contorted with performative rage. You shout too. Your voice is raw. You feel a wave of nausea, of self-disgust. But you do it, because you know that the secret police are in the crowd, watching. They are not watching the execution, they are watching you. They are looking for the person who flinches, the person who looks away, the person whose condemnation does not sound convincing enough. This is the true purpose of the event. It is not to punish the condemned. It is to terrorize the living. It is to remind you, in the most visceral way possible, of the consequences of disobedience. It is to turn you into an active participant in the state's brutality. You leave the square, the sound of the gunshots still ringing in your ears. You do not speak of what you saw. You go home and you try to forget. But you never will. You have been taught your lesson. Fear is the glue that holds this kingdom together. How do you survive in a world like this? A world of constant surveillance, perpetual hunger, and ritualized paranoia? You learn to think in a way that is alien to the modern mind. It is a complex cocktail of genuine belief, deeply ingrained fear, and numb, pragmatic survival. At the core of your psychology is the state ideology of Juche. On the surface, it is a philosophy of self-reliance, the idea that North Korea must stand on its own 2 feet, independent of foreign powers, relying on its own strength and resources. You have been taught this since birth. We have nothing to envy in the world. But Juche is more than just a political slogan. It is a psychological coping mechanism. In a country that is, in reality, deeply dependent on black market trade with China and, at times, foreign aid, the idea of self-reliance is a powerful fiction. It transforms your suffering from a failure of the state into a noble, patriotic struggle. You are not starving because the government is incompetent and corrupt. You are enduring hardships to protect the motherland from the hostile forces that surround it. Your poverty is a badge of honor. Your hunger is a revolutionary act. But this belief is a fragile thing. It is constantly being chipped away by the harsh realities of your daily life. And that is where the fear comes in. The fear is constant. It is the background noise of your existence. Fear of the Bowie-boo. Fear of your neighbors. Fear of saying the wrong thing, of thinking the wrong thought. Fear of being reported, of being sent to a camp, of your family being destroyed. This fear forces you to retreat inward. You develop a public persona, a mask of cheerful, unquestioning loyalty. Your true self, with its doubts and frustrations, is buried deep inside. You become an actor in your own life, and the performance never ends. This creates a kind of psychological dissonance, a split between what you are forced to say and what you truly feel. To cope with this, you become numb. You learn to filter out the propaganda, to go through the motions of the rituals without engaging with them emotionally. You focus on the small, immediate tasks of survival, finding food, fixing your shoes, keeping your children warm. Your world shrinks to the size of your apartment, your workplace, and the local market. The grand ideology of the state becomes a distant, irrelevant noise. Your survival depends not on Juche, but on your own cunning, your own resilience, your own quiet, desperate acts of defiance. You learn to read people, to know who can be trusted with a whispered complaint and who cannot. You develop a dark, cynical sense of humor, shared only with a few trusted souls, as a way to cope with the absurdity of it all. You are a survivor. You are a master of the double life. You are a repository of forbidden thoughts and repressed emotions. You are what the state has made you, and it is a miracle that you have not gone completely insane. The sun has long since set, and a deep, oppressive darkness has fallen over the city. But the day is not over. The night holds its own special kind of terror, and it often begins with a knock on the door. It is not a polite tap. It is a hard, sharp, authoritative sound that cuts through the night and stops your heart cold. There is no need to ask who at Island. Everyone knows who comes in the middle of the night. It is the Boweeboo, the secret police. Your mind races. Who did I talk to? What did I say? Did my child repeat something I said at dinner? Did my neighbor report me for complaining about the power outage? The questions are a frantic, silent scream in your head. You open the door. Two men in plain dark suits stand in the hallway. Their faces are impassive, their eyes cold and empty. They do not need a warrant. They do not need to give a reason. They are the law. You will come with us, one of them says. It is not a request. They might say your name. They might not. It doesn't matter. You know it is for you, or perhaps it is for your spouse, or your parent who lives with you. The scene is always the same. There is no struggle. To resist would be suicide. You go quietly. Your family watches, their faces a mask of shock and terror. They know they cannot ask questions. They know they cannot protest. To do so would be to join you. You are led out of the building and into a black car waiting in the street. As you are driven away, you look back at your apartment building. It is a dark, silent monolith. No one comes to their window. No one dares to watch. To witness your abduction is to become part of it. You are now an unperson, a ghost. Your family will never be told where you have been taken. They will never be told what crime you have been accused of. They will never see you again. Your name will be erased from official records. Your neighbors will pretend you never existed. Your existence has been terminated. You will be taken to an interrogation center. There, you will be tortured, systematically and brutally, until you confess. It doesn't matter if you are innocent. They will break you. You will sign a piece of paper admitting to whatever crimes they have invented for you. From there, you will be sent to a Kwanliso, a political prison camp. These camps are not prisons, they are death camps. They are vast, hidden gulags in the remote, mountainous regions of the country where tens of thousands of people are worked to death, starved to death, or executed. You will spend the rest of your short, miserable life performing backbreaking labor in a mine or a logging camp on a diet of a few handfuls of corn a day. You will die of malnutrition, of disease, of an accident, or at the hands of a sadistic guard. And your family, they too will be punished. Your spouse, your children, your parents will be rounded up and sent to a re-education camp or banished to a poor, remote village. Their lives will be destroyed, their futures erased, all because of you. The knock on the door is the regime's most powerful weapon. It is the ultimate tool of fear. It is the reason why people obey, why they conform, why they police their own thoughts. Because everyone knows that tonight the knock could be for them. You climb into your bed, which is little more than a thin mat on the floor. The cold of the concrete seeps into your bones. You pull the coarse, scratchy blanket up to your chin. Outside, the city is quiet, but it is not a peaceful quiet. It is a tense, watchful silence. The propaganda broadcasts from the public speakers have finally ceased. The only sounds are the distant barking of a stray dog and the sighing of the wind through the cracks in your window frame. You must prepare for sleep, but even that is a ritual of conformity. You glance one last time at the portraits of the Kims on the wall. They must be the last thing you see. It is an unspoken rule, a small act of devotion to carry you through the night. You close your eyes, but your mind is still racing. You replay the events of the day, the morning pledge, the monotonous work, the terrifying self-criticism session, the face of the man who was executed in the square, the guarded conversation with your family, the constant gnawing hunger, the ever-present fear. You think about the world outside, the world you saw for a few hours on a smuggled USB stick, a world of light, of color, of freedom. The thought is a dull, painful ache in your chest. It is a world you will never know. You try to push these thoughts away. They are dangerous. Even in the privacy of your own mind, you feel like an intruder, a traitor. The state has done its job so well that you have become your own prison guard. You police your own dreams. So, what do you dream about? You do not dream of revolution. That is a fantasy for the foolish. The state is too powerful, its grip too tight. To dream of rebellion is to dream of death. You do not dream of wealth or fame. Those concepts are alien. They belong to the decadent, capitalist world you are taught to despise. Perhaps you dream of simple things. A full bowl of white rice, a new pair of shoes that don't have holes in them, a day without the gnawing ache of hunger, a moment of genuine, unguarded laughter with your family. Or perhaps you dream of nothing at all. Perhaps your mind, in an act of self-preservation, simply goes blank, a blessed, empty void where the state cannot reach you. Sleep is not a rest, it is a temporary escape. A brief, fleeting reprieve from a reality that is as relentless and unforgiving as the Siberian wind that sweeps down from the north in winter. You drift off, your body curled into a tight ball for warmth. You are just one of millions, sleeping the fitful sleep of the oppressed in the quietest, loudest, and saddest country on earth. And tomorrow, if you are lucky enough to wake up, you will do it all over again. In this brutal, suffocating system, in this landscape of gray concrete and gray lives, it would be easy to assume that the human spirit has been completely extinguished. It would be easy to believe that the regime has succeeded in creating a nation of perfectly obedient, emotionless automatons. But that would be a mistake, because even in the darkest places, flickers of light persist. Hope in North Korea is not a grand revolutionary dream. It is a small, stubborn weed pushing its way through a crack in the concrete. You see it in the Jangmadang. These black markets, born of desperation, have become more than just places to buy food. They are hubs of human interaction, of gossip, of information exchange. They are a testament to the people's resilience and their refusal to be completely dependent on the state. The generation that grew up during the famine of the 1990s, the Jangmadang generation, is different. They have no memory of the state ever providing for them. Their loyalty to the regime is thin. They are more materialistic, more individualistic, and more aware of the world outside, thanks to the illicit media they consume. They are the regime's greatest long-term threat. You see hope in the secret acts of kindness. A neighbor who shares a few potatoes with you when your rations run out. A coworker who forgets to report a minor mistake you made at the factory. A doctor who discreetly gives you a few precious pills of real medicine he acquired on the black market. These are small, incredibly risky acts of solidarity in a system designed to destroy it. They are a quiet rebellion of shared humanity. You hear it in the dark humor. North Koreans have a biting, cynical wit, shared only in the most trusted company. They have jokes about the leaders, about the propaganda, about the absurdity of their daily lives. Laughter in this context is not just an escape, it is an act of defiance. It is a way of saying, you can control my body, but you cannot control my mind. You feel it in the enduring love of family. Despite the state's attempts to supplant the family with the party, the bonds of kinship remain powerful. Parents will risk everything to provide for their children. They will lie, cheat, and break the law not for themselves, but to give their son or daughter a slightly better chance at survival. This love is the one loyalty the state can never fully command. These are not signs of an impending revolution. The regime's grip on power is still absolute, but they are cracks in the monolithic facade. They are proof that the human spirit, with its desire for freedom, for connection, for a life of dignity, can be suppressed, but it cannot be completely erased. It is a faint, flickering candle in an ocean of darkness, but it is there. And as long as it is there, there is a possibility, however remote, that one day the dawn will break. You have now survived, hypothetically, a single 24-hour cycle in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. You have woken up cold and hungry, performed your loyalty, toiled for the state, navigated a world of suspicion and fear, and fallen asleep with the taste of lies in your mouth. And now comes the most horrifying realization of all. The horror of North Korea is not contained in a single day. It is in the repetition. It is in the knowledge that tomorrow will be exactly the same. And the day after that, and the day after that. It is a life sentence served one grinding gray day at a time. There is no hope of promotion, no chance of a better life, no escape. You are trapped in a loop of suffering, a perfectly designed system of human misery from which the only exit is death. The modern world, with its complaints about traffic, slow Wi-Fi, and a boring job would seem like an impossible, unimaginable paradise to you. The simple freedoms you take for granted, the freedom to choose what you eat, what you wear, what you say, what you think are cosmic luxuries in this world. You are not a citizen, you are a component. You are not a person, you are state property. Your life is not your own. It is a resource to be consumed by the regime, a single insignificant drop of fuel to keep the engine of the Juche revolution running for one more day. And yet, you would endure, because that is what humans do. You would find a way to survive, you would learn the rules of the game, you would wear the mask, you would find the cracks in the system, you would love your family with a fierce, protective passion, you would find moments of grace and humor in the bleakest of circumstances. You would not be a hero, you would be a survivor. And in a place like North Korea, that is the most heroic thing a person can be. So, as you go about your day in your world of comfort and choice, remember this. Remember the cold floor, the empty bowl, the ever-watchful portraits, and the silent, shuffling crowds. Remember that for millions of people, the world you just visited is not a hypothetical journey. It is their reality. And they will wake up and do it all again tomorrow.